Hi everyone. I just thought I'd spend a quick 10 or 15 minutes, which will more likely be about 20 or 25, to share a few thoughts on what the next few days or even couple of weeks might feel like. And by the time you've listened to this chat, you'll understand why I'm probably now on take 3 of this video, but I'll explain that later. Yeah, so we have a new moon in Virgo tomorrow. It's quite exciting, which I'll get onto next. But it's been a little bit of a strange time for many of us. We've probably been, looking around at everything that feels like it's a mess in our lives. Looking at everything that's wrong or just not quite working and thinking, where do we start? I feel like I'm here, there and everywhere. Oh, there's just too much to do. I can't see the wood for the trees and I just feel a bit stuck. But as I say, tomorrow we have this new moon, and this is where we could find ourselves at a turning point. We could be turning a corner and finally finding some doors opening, and I'm sure many of you have felt like this door's been shut in moving forward. Okay, so let me explain a little bit why. So the new moon falls in Virgo, as I said, at 21 degrees 58, which is more or less 22 degrees of Virgo. So any of you with planets at those degrees will feel this particularly. And of course, as we know, new moons, they're always a fresh start, a new cycle, and all those ideas that have probably been sort of sitting in the back of your mind, bouncing about, not going anywhere. Although they have been planted in effect, they're now seeded and they're now about to start growing and moving forward. This is where we're going to see progress. Slowly but surely, all those ideas or plans will start, pushing forwards through the dark of the soil and start breaking ground. And here's a couple of reasons why this new moon is particularly exciting, I think, and why I titled it Lightning Seeds and Lightbulb Moments. This new moon is trine Uranus. Okay, Virgo, which this is the sign of this new moon, is of course ruled by Mercury, which is all about our intellect or our communication, all those sorts of themes. Uranus is simply a higher octave of Mercury. It's our higher mind. So I think we're going to see a significant shift forward from focusing on all the minutiae, all those tiny details that have been driving us nuts and that we've perhaps felt quite lost within. And we're going to start seeing some light bulb moments. Our higher minds are going to be awakened and it will feel like, why didn't I see that before? It's so obvious. So I think we're going to start having a lot of inspired ideas around how to implement your plans and move forward. Lightning seeds of inspiration. They are what are going to be coming over the next few days. So please use this time to set your seeds of intention for anything that you want to change in your life. And by the time we get to the full moon in 2 weeks, which will be the 29th of September, we'll start to see the fruits of all those ideas. Okay. Secondly, Mercury, of course, which is the planet ruling this new moon, has been retrograde since 23rd of August, and it's been glitchy on every level. As I said, this is the third take of this video because I started it twice before and it kept cutting out, and then I finally realised that the memory on my phone was near capacity and it would only allow me a couple of minutes video. So before doing this for the third time, I had to go and clear out loads of memory on my phone. That's typical Mercury retrograde. But aside from that, I'm sure many of you have been doing clearing out, whether that's cupboards or just areas of your life, or, sort of undertaking any kind of rework or just even reflecting on, where you've been, what you've been through and what your next steps might be. And guess what? Mercury stations the same day as that new moon tomorrow. It stations at 8 degrees of Virgo, so that's a degree to keep an eye on. And then it will start to move forwards again, slowly at first, and then it will gather momentum until it reaches full speed again. So instead of feeling like we're stuck in reverse or just taking backward steps, we'll start to feel like we're moving forward again, and our steps will become clearer. Uranus will open up our minds and show us the way forward, and even give us new or different ideas that we hadn't considered before. Some of those might even be radical. So go what's new, go with what's strange, and be ready for anything that's unexpected, and just, you know, something completely different to what you may have considered previously. Also, though, keep in mind that with Mercury stationing and being almost at a standstill, you know, with this new moon, things might not quite happen as quickly as we'd like, but those ideas and the way forward will still be apparent. And you know, with Uranus trining this new moon, it's quite impulsive and it's quite impatient, so please don't get too frustrated. Just trust in the process, and that things over the next few days will start gathering momentum, and you'll be able to see how you can bring about any change that you want to implement. Also with this new moon, there's a lot of feminine energies, and I'm just pulling up the chart here, there. My screen just went blank for a moment. Mercury retrograde again, stationing. There's a lot of feminine energies. You know, we've got Venus and Juno conjunct still. The conjunction was exact on Sunday. They're in Leo, and they're squaring Jupiter. So we've got Venus classed as the minor benefic, and then we've got Jupiter, the major benefic, and then we've got Juno there as well. And we must remember from the mythology that Juno is Jupiter's consort and wife. And so often in my work with Juno, and I've done a lot of work with Juno, as many of you know, I'm seeing more and more Juno acting as a benefic. So we've almost, you know, we've got three benefics here in a fixed square, Leo and Taurus. So I think we could see a great big boost of confidence, a boost of hope, but also about seeing the bigger picture. Okay. It would be lovely to say that some of us might see some lucky strikes or lucky strokes. Who knows? You know, perhaps this is just that square in effect, you know, give me a little bit of hope. But I think there could be a little bit of stroke of stroke of luck somewhere. But I think certainly some of us, and many of us, are probably a little bit wiser, because we went through that Venus retrograde, of course, and wiser around, you know, what we want and how much we're worth. But now we're prepared to fight for it. So I think we're probably better placed to go for what we want in our relationships, in finances, whether that's personal or business. And as I said, I think we really could see some doors opening which have previously been closed. They might be doors you've already considered, but there could be brand new doors as well opening, brand new routes of opportunity stretching into the horizon. Also, same day as that new moon, we have asteroid Ceres ingressing Scorpio sort of later in the day after the new moon, and Ceres will stay in Scorpio until 25th of November. And we've got to remember as well, Ceres and Juno were sisters. You know, they're both daughters of Saturn, they're both brothers of Jupiter, so they're very much part of a powerful dynasty. Do not underestimate these asteroids. And Ceres in Scorpio, it's very much about deep emotional bonding, and it can be about financial arrangements, shared financial arrangements, of course. So, you know, anything around mortgages or shared loans, or even child arrangements, child custody arrangements, they're always very prominent with Ceres. But I think as well, you know, Ceres we can often associate with grief, with transitions between happiness and grief. You know, it's very seasonal. It's, you know, Ceres, it's either sort of fertile and happy, or barren and sort of a little bit down in the depths. It's very transitional, and you know, anyone's lives are always full of, you know, up phases and down phases. And we often see sort of Ceres significant there. So I think with Ceres and Scorpio, it's a good time to perhaps try and identify where any of our pain or grief is coming from, but also where we've been violated emotionally or even financially, you know, where you're not getting your fair share. That's really important. Financially, you must ensure that you're getting your fair share, and that Juno will very much fit in with that as well, with negotiations and financial commitments. And it's perhaps identifying where we've perhaps felt a loss of innocence once we've been violated. And that could be, you know, literal or metaphorical, of course. You know, but once we've experienced any form of violation, there's no coming back. We're not innocent anymore. We've transitioned and we've gone through a rite of passage. Also, I think it's about trying to identify perhaps where we've been holding on too tight, where we've been too possessive and unwilling to let go, because it might hurt letting go. It could also be about facing the consequences of being over-compromising. You know, Ceres moving into Scorpio is leaving Libra, the sign of compromise and balance. So it's definitely worth, you know, looking at any areas in your life where you over-compromise, you know, and in effect, you know, can hurt yourself. And I always like to, you know, I always say this when I'm talking about Ceres, you know, it's derived from the Latin word crescere, which means to come forth, to arise, to grow, or creare, which means to produce, make, to beget. So Ceres is also very much about growth, and you'll find some of the most important growth we have in life is when we've been through a difficult period, and then we rise up again with new wisdom and new skills and, you know, new perspective. That's when we begin to grow. So this could be a sort of period of deep examination, possibly quite painful, but from that growth will come. And I think this will be especially important in parent-child relations or relationships, or even female relationships, whether female friends or, you know, female relations, that type of thing. But there's a lot of potential here for introspection, which will lead to eventual growth. Okay, that's in a nutshell, because Ceres and Scorpio is a whole new topic which I'll be dealing with in the near future. So before I end, here's just a few mundane thoughts on this new moon. Very interestingly, you know, it occurs at 21 Virgo, which is the degree that Mercury stationed retrograde at back in the 23rd of August. So this new moon is so incredibly synchronized with this Mercury retrograde period. So please do have a think back to what you experienced around the 23rd of August and in the 3 weeks since then. You'll be seeing similar themes either being resolved or coming to a head, or sort of being brought more into you know, prominence, rather than being introspective or just things that you've been thinking about. Just off the top of my head, I think that around the 23rd of August, around that time, that's when the Wagner leader was supposedly killed in the plane crash over Russia. And of course in the UK, it's when the story broke about the concrete in the schools, and, you know, several schools had to, well, not several, hundreds of schools had to shut down while it's investigated and while the structures are made safe. Interestingly, Rishi Sunak, and you should be able to see his chart now, the new moon will fall on his 20 Virgo Saturn, and Uranus will fall exactly on his Sun and Mercury in Taurus. So he's really picking up this new moon and the trine it makes to Uranus. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like shocking or surprising announcements or even policy changings. And Gillian Keegan, the education minister, who's obviously having to deal with all this crisis regarding the concrete in our schools, this new moon's picking up her 22 Pisces Sun, which opposes a 21 Virgo Pluto. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some announcements or, you know, something sort of surprising or sudden around her and the school's situation. And of course, you know, we often associate Ceres with children. Of course, you know, we're talking about children in schools, but I'm just seeing a lot on the news, you know, at the minute regarding the violation of children. And the latest one is the little girl who was found dead in a house in the UK, and her family fled to Pakistan, saying that she died in an incident. Anyway, sort of yesterday they flew back to the UK after sort of an intensive search for them, and they've been arrested. So I think that's going to play out in the media as well in the near future. So I hope that's been of interest and maybe he's given you some insight into what to expect. But I do think it's going to be a turning point, without a doubt, this new moon. And, you know, Venus is now direct, Mercury will go direct, and I think we'll just start feeling as though we're moving forwards instead of feeling stuck or feeling backwards. Anyway, take care, and I'll be in touch again soon. Bye bye.